Welcome to Pause for Peace. On this 16th day of February 2025, we are releasing this podcast to you. And perhaps you have been spending your weekend in some way, shape, or form celebrating your beloved. Yep, Friday was Valentine's Day. If you forgot, you better get on it. Valentine's Day actually does have some roots in Christian history, believe it or not. Perhaps you know this already. Saint Valentine was, as far as we know, was actually somebody who was breaking Roman law by marrying young people who wanted to be married. At one point in time, under Roman law, Christians did not have that freedom to marry. And so Saint Valentine, who actually did end up executed by the Roman Empire, Saint Valentine was this wise, beautiful soul, full of love, who actually sought to provide that space where beloveds could make those vows to one another, even if the empire said, no, you're not allowed. The Roman Empire had some harsh ways of being, including enslaving a lot of different people that they conquered all around the world, and really kind of wreaking havoc on the lands, which is a little bit of what empire does. As empire seeks to expand, we've seen this all over the world. As empire seeks to expand, they really don't care about the mess they leave in their wake. This is the roots of colonialism, right? And the ways that we can have this mindset that we're entitled to anything because we're Rome, or we're Persia, or we're like ancient Greece, or we are in the United States of America. All of these empires that have come and gone. The United States of America hasn't gone, but it has definitely come upon this land with a little bit of that conquest attitude about it as well. But Saint Valentine actually sought to honor this gift that he would see in those who were beloved. There are those who believe that the tracings of that balance of two actually did exist at one point in time in the Christian tradition. In fact, I was reading a book this week by Margaret Starbird, who actually was tracing the ways that we might understand Christianity today that might have actually gotten a little covered over along the way. Might not be a surprise to some of us that is part of what happened, but she actually uses work on a verse from the Apostle Paul, who is speaking about those who are traveling around and are sharing the love of God, and they are doing that, just apostles sent out with their sister wives, with their wife, to share the love of God. And she posits that it's incredibly possible when Jesus sent out the 72, according to one of the Gospels, canonical Gospels, when Jesus sent out the 72, that he was actually sending out pairs, husbands and wives. It wasn't necessarily two men going out together, although it might have been, but it was people who were paired with their beloved, and they were spreading this beautiful gift of love. We don't know exactly how it was, but it's plausible that at least some disciples and some who were sent might have actually been traveling with their beloved, because there's a way that the balance is needed. I've actually had the beautiful gift on a pilgrimage with John Philip Newell and his wife, Allie, to actually see the way this brilliant mind and this glorious heart in John Philip Newell, this wisdom that just exceeds from him, is balanced by his wife, who brings such joy, just a pleasure to even look at her face. She's just filled with radiant joy. And she is grounded in spiritual practices that will blow you away, ways to access the divine within that are unlike those I've seen John Philip Newell himself do. And so it was so wonderful to see this beautiful relationship that these two beloveds had with each other. Now, I get it. A lot of us may not have examples like that in our lives. And some of us are still healing from examples that we have seen in the external world, either in our own families or in our own experiences that we have had. And I dare say, while it is important to have our beloveds, our physical person with whom we are connected, I'm not going to say, especially on the weekend of Valentine's Day, that there's something wrong with that. Not at all. And there is a way that the internal belovedness needs to take place as well. In fact, throughout ancient cultures, there often was that balance of the masculine and feminine representation of God, understanding of the God and the goddess together, which provided the balance that was needed for the earth to be whole, for human beings to be whole, and for human relationships to be whole. And while that is something that has been lost in most of the religious traditions that are the largest traditions in the world today, there's still a way that there's an internal balancing that needs to take place. This is part of why it's almost like a projection in some ways, but it's part of why the ancient cultures had these understandings of the gods, of the like the masculine and feminine balance of the divine. It was external in their spirituality because they knew that it was internal in their own beings, that there is the flow of that, what's classically been called masculine energy, and the flow of what's classically been called feminine energy that is in all of us. And we are not whole, we are not healthy if either energy is blocked. And if you don't know much about masculine and feminine energy, or we hear it in some traditions as the yin and the yang. If you don't know much about that, if you could think about a balance that needs to take place so that both can be. And in our own tradition in Christianity, in ancient Israel, we saw a command that was given by Yahweh to the people for them to be whole and to be free. They were given the command to celebrate Shabbat, to take a rest, to stop from all the doing of the week. In fact, that command was given as people were becoming free from being enslaved in Egypt. And Yahweh was saying, you are not just those who are here to produce. You are not just those who are enslaved. You are free. And take time each week to step back, to rest, to receive the goodness of noticing that, to even allow space for what you have planted all week long to be able to be growing. We can't make things grow. They grow on their own accord. And so we can do what we need to do to tend and to put forth our action in the world. And then there is a way in which we need to receive. The tricky thing is these energies need to be balanced in us at all times. I can't really do it with both hands right now as I'm in this sling, still recovering from surgery. But the balance of the energy that sends forth and the energy that receives is what is needed for us to even be illuminated and to be whole and to be able to function well in this world. And there are ways in our dream work where we're constantly talking about the masculine energy in us and the feminine energy in us. And this has nothing to do with being man or woman. This is one of our culture's taboos, if you will, that every being has both. And if you don't think so, I have to tell you, energetically, you can't have the flow of energy without both, because the two main channels of energy that will circulate around this column of our energy centers, the energy has to be sent and it has to be received for it to continue to spiral upwards. You might actually see that symbol, and that symbol of the two snakes like spiraled around the staff is a symbol that inspires the symbol for the medical community, for those who are doctors. It's a way to show health and wholeness. The two have to come together and flow. Part of what we can celebrate during this season of love, Valentine's Day, and the days beyond, and like, first of all, let me say, I understand a lot of people really hate Valentine's Day because they might feel like there's supposed to be a way in which Valentine's Day means we have this perfect couple that we are, and this perfect person in our lives that we love and who loves us perfectly the way we want to be loved. I get it. There's so much of that emphasis. This is like really like, like the Hallmark holiday in so many ways, right? It's all about the chocolates, the flowers, the cards, the elaborate times that we have with one another on Valentine's Day. And the bottom line is, if this is all about love, and not just like the love that we have with somebody else outside of ourselves, but the love that needs to happen within us, the balance that needs to happen within us, so that in our own selves, we send and receive love all the time, simultaneously. This is the way the masculine and feminine energy in us, the sending and the receiving energy, the active energy and the receptive energy, the putting forth and the giving back. This is how we are whole human beings. I think this is something that Jesus himself had mastered, something that he knew, which actually is part of what made him what's called the Ihidaya, the undivided one. There was a way in which the flow was undivided in him, the flow of sending and the flow of receiving, giving and the return. So in our time for pause for peace, wherever you've been in this whole experience of Valentine's Day, if you feel like bitterness towards the holiday, or if you have felt great stress and pressure because of Valentine's Day, first of all, let's take it back and remember this is a season to celebrate the gift of love. And that doesn't have to be love that is between two people. It can be love, or especially like a couple. This can be love that we know in our lives, perhaps from our family of origin, or from those who have like supported us along the way, so that we can wake up to the presence of love within ourselves, and so that we can be whole within, so that we can call upon that energy in us that's classically called masculine, that energy of acting in the world, and the energy of receiving, which is classically called the feminine, that we take it down to biology. It's the bottom line. What I'm going to say about that. But so that we can actually receive what we need, and we can actually act in the world in a way that won't be overly aggressive. That's not like controlling of others. That's not conquering of others. That is masculine energy out of control. That is toxic masculinity. Same thing about judgmentalness towards ourselves and others. That is toxic masculinity. The gift of masculine energy is to decipher and to divide and to be able to discern. It is to be able to judge, but judgmentalness is now taking it beyond and being so stuck in division and wanting to conquer the world in a way that you set up boundaries between, not for the good of all, but for actually being able to show your dominance. That's toxic masculinity, and we're seeing it all over our world. We also can see toxic femininity, people who are actually acting in a way or not acting in a way that is showing health and balance. There's a way that too much feminine energy means we're unable to be structured and ordered and set boundaries. We have to have both in order to be healthy. There has to be the flow, but there also has to be the boundary around that flow. So one thing we can honor and one way we can pause for peace today is to become aware of and to be grateful for the presence of both these beloved energies in us and in the relationships that we have in the world. So I'm going to invite you to get ready to pause, right? To get ready to create some more balance and centeredness in yourself. Get your feet flat on the ground. Maybe you can sit upright a little bit more. I have a tendency to lean towards you in the camera, but sit upright a little bit more. Allow this column of the energy to flow a little bit more freely. I'm going to invite us to bring our awareness to what's known as our root in energy circles. We call our root sort of like the base of our being, not all the way down at our feet. Our feet are a part of our root chakra, but at the base of our being, the perineum is actually the word, like the pelvic floor, right? So at the base of our being, become aware of that center of ourselves. You can use your hand and place it on your being or a little bit outside of your being, a couple inches or even a foot from that part of yourself. Just like base of who you are. You can literally think of this is the place that roots me safe and secure into the earth. Allows me to stand, needs to be healthy. Possibly needs some repair for some of us. If we've been violated in any way, our base of who we are, actually our root chakra, can be really in need of repair so that we will return to a sense of safety and security in the world. And if you could just imagine that from there at the root of your being, there flows two channels of energy that continue to spiral up around you. I wish I could do it better with my fingers, but I can't right now. If you were watching this video cast, I then would be able to show you the way that these energies spiral around, like a helix, I guess we would call it, and they meet, and from that, they continue to spiral around. They're sending and they're receiving the energy, spiraling around all the way up your being. Maybe almost feeling as if you are a column of light with these two energies spiraling around you. The balance of your being becoming awakened. So this yin and yang energy, this active energy that is a part of you, this sending energy that is a part of you, and this receiving, this receptive, waiting energy that is also a part of you. The energy of the soul, actually, the soul that waits. We need all parts of our being. And imagine those continuing. If you know about the energy centers, these two columns of energy, these spiraling columns of energy, actually meet at each energy center of the seven main energy centers of our column, if you will, our spinal column. It's not on our spine, but just sort of imagine there's these energy centers all the way up from our root to our solar plexus, to our chakra. Wait, let me start again. From our root to our sacral, to our solar plexus, to our heart, to our throat, to our brow, to our crown. There are these energy centers and these two spiraling energies, sending and receiving. From every time they cross, they're crossing there at one of those main energy centers. And we want to keep on sending that energy all the way up. When we are out of balance, the energy is not going to flow. There's going to be whenever we're out of balance, if if we're not sending and receiving, or if there's a block, or if there's a tear energetically, or if there's a wound in being held in one of those, like a energetic pattern that's holding, then there won't be the balance, there won't be the flow, and we will eventually have physical symptoms in our body when our energy is not balanced. That's why those who know this ancient understandings of who we are know that we need to see the balance out in the world so that we can know the balance within us. And when we know the balance within us, we can have healthy examples of the balance externally. We can actually be in couples in which we are beloved to one another. Whether that's a sexual relationship or not is a whole different issue. But there is a way in which we can be in those balanced relationships when there's balance within ourselves. If you're feeling like you just don't get it, or like these spiraling energies are like clogged in any way, or aren't like maybe sending and receiving as strong as you would like them to, then you are welcome to just kind of place your palm of your hand all the way up from your root to your sacral, to your solar plexus, as you're like to your heart, to your throat, to your brow, to your crown, as you are imagining, seeing, trying to tune in to the flow of this energy within. Your hands, your palm of your hands that we reach out to shake somebody else's hand in the world is actually coming from the energy of your heart. And many people actually feel this energy in their palm of their hands. You can actually rub your hands together and you begin to create the energy. It's like the heart energy is awakening when you do that. And place your hand on a place on your body that might be hurting. Like when you rub your knee, that's because it's the energy of your heart is going to that boo-boo that just happened when you bumped into that doorway on the way into the house, or whatever it might have been. So honoring this balance within, becoming aware for the need of this balance within, which is not just that I take more breaks out of my work. This is a way that we balance the sending and receiving in us, and we become like a whole different thing. Like if it was just one sending all the time, the energy of sending was what was sending all the time, there will be imbalance within us. And so when the two are sending and receiving in balance with each other, it's like this totally holy third that presents. It is our wholeness that comes forth, even if it's fleeting, even if it's momentary, even if it's just for that one really important meeting that I needed to get through. And I felt like I was on and I was paying attention to what was happening internally, and I was noting what was happening externally. When I can get in that place, then there is that balance. And if we're feeling out of balance, we return our awareness to the bottoms of both feet. And imagine or see or tune into, feel those two columns of energy spiraling all around us. Your breath also can bring you back to this present moment. The breath itself is an example of the balance. We can't keep holding our breath forever. We have to exhale. These are the holy opposites. Inhale, exhale. Has to happen or we die. So before we depart this time of stillness, I do want you to tap your heels into the earth. See if you can really feel more balanced now. Hopefully you didn't just get dizzy in the whole practice of swirling, spiraling energy, but that you feel a little bit more centered and balanced in your central nervous system itself, in the central column of who you are. And get yourself back right here on the earth and know that, yes, your energy spirals beyond and you receive energy from above as well. That in itself is the two holy opposites, the earth and the heavens, and they come together, and we send and receive continuously, receiving from both, sending into both, and vice versa, sending into us, receiving from us. This is who we are. It's part of what we can celebrate this season of Valentines. And in fact, the whole month of February, which many call the month of love. So before we depart this experience where hopefully we've become a bit more balanced within, express gratitude inwardly for whatever you've noticed, whatever you've experienced. Even if you're feeling very off-centered right now, that's something to notice and pay attention to. It's information that you are being given. You can just keep mulling on. What was that about? What's that wanting me to notice? What's that wanting me to do? Was I really grounded in this present moment? Was I really staying open to flow? Whatever we've experienced is part of that information. Here as a gift for us to live a little bit more whole. This is a way that we can receive and expand love to ourselves and all the world. And when you're ready, I invite you to open your eyes if they have been closed. Get yourself here, present, aware of this moment. And whether there is an external beloved or somebody you're hoping will become your external beloved, or whether this is a time where you can ground yourself more in the internal balance of the energies within that are the representations of the beloved within. I hope you will enjoy these days, and I hope you will also remember that the gift of love inspired by St. Valentine, the gift of love protected by St. Valentine, the gift of exchanging those promises to one another to be faithful beloveds, this is something that is worth fighting for in this world, so that all have that freedom to be able to experience this beautiful gift of love. I hope you have a wonderful week and celebrate the love that is within, celebrate all the love that is in your world. Even if it's not the love that you want, I was reminded early on my journey by a wonderfully wise woman that, Jule, there will always be enough love. Even if it's not the love that you want and think that you need and deserve, there is always enough love in this world. Keep your eyes open to it. Blessings. Have a wonderful week.